Guys, I'm going to bring in Pearl here real quick. I invited Pearl to the podcast today, and, we do a lot of interviews on this podcast. I would say every now and then we bring in some big, real, name in the industry like we did last year with Steve Burns or, with Jack Schwager and whatnot. But most of our interviews and most of our podcasts are just hanging with our community. We'll bring in people who've been in the Hall of Fame, like Beth Salamanca a couple years ago, or somebody that is one of our vendor relationships, like Pete Thomas from over at Zaner, who's a gold expert and things like that, or just hanging out with Gino and Noah. And Pearl, you are definitely a part of this community. You've been a part of it for a long time. I've known you for a long time. I know your background. Introduce yourself to the audience if they've never heard from you, though.
Yeah, so I am a regular Friday feature blogger on tackle trading. I publish first Friday of every month. And I joined tackle trading for about 4 years ago as a real beginner and have learned enough that I was able to leave my full-time career job at Amazon in 2018. And my very first blog that I published was why I decided to leave my 200K job. And that was, it's been a life-changing experience for me. And I'm so glad to be here to share that with everyone.
Yeah. You've recently had a lot of changes in your life. I mean, you've been building a community there in Seattle for some of the locals where you guys meet in person. You've taken leadership roles in that community as well as others. You recently got married as well, right?
Yes.
Congrats, kiddo. I mean, that's pretty awesome. You married a military man who you've been dating for a while. I think when this whole coronavirus thing, you were planning on some big wedding, I believe, but you just went down to the courthouse and said, let's get this out of the way.
Yeah, we didn't want to wait any longer with all of the unknown situations. And it was an excellent timing because, as we predicted, right, things got really unpredictable now. So I'm glad that neither one of us wanted to wait that long. So we literally just went down to the courthouse, and it was a very beautiful day. We were both very happy to share that with our closest friends and family.
So what I'm hearing, Pearl, is you day traded your wedding?
I am still not a day trader. I practiced it in the current market condition with paper money, but I'm very laid back. I find that I tend to overmanage. So I want to be able to build a system that will let me practice the psychology of a rule-based thinking before I can truly kind of advance myself into proper day trading. Because I find most successful day traders I've met within tackle trading network and whatnot, I mean, they have the most rule-based mindset. And I felt like my progression, I wanted to really nail down swing trading and position trading with that rule-based mindset before I move on to a faster time frame. But I did very, in current environment, I mean, I day trade on paper money with the micro mini, yes.
Mm-hmm. So you're building some of those skill sets in, but you've built other systems over the years that you're more comfortable with, right?
Yes.
It's amazing, Mark. One of my favorite quotes of all time in all of trading comes from Dr. Van Tharp, who wrote, what was that great book he wrote? Trade Your Way to Financial Freedom. And he said, you don't trade the markets, you trade your beliefs about the markets. Pearl feels more in control actually in longer term cash flow than she does in day trading. Am I accurate with that, Pearl?
Yes, it deals with my psychology a lot better.
But a lot of traders feel more in control when they're in cash at the end of the day. Control is a perception thing. It's not a reality thing. It's how you see risk and reward and being able to control the outcome of a trade and things like that. Pearl, I feel like, and I know you pretty well, I mentored you, at one point. I'm one of many mentors that you've had, but you and I had that direct teaching relationship when I was coaching you. And I think that you love the idea of planning, where a stop loss should go, your max loss, your reward to risk. In fact, you said something earlier before we started this podcast. You're calculating max loss and reducing position size on everything you do right now. Is that right?
Yes.
Yep. And just naturally coming down. But there's something about this control thing. I mean, Mark, when you're day trading, you feel like you're in control because you're watching it, right?
Yeah, no, and just and knowing Pearl, I would be the worst mentor for Pearl ever. Like, she would listen to me and she'd be like, "No, that's not who I am. No, that is not. No, absolutely not. No, like." Pearl and I would clash because we approach the market differently. And that's the beauty about the market, right? Is that there's lots of different ways to approach it and succeed.
But you know what it really comes down to? I think it really comes down to that I'm in the West Coast. I can't get up early at 6:30 a.m. I just can't do it.
Another example of liberals being lazy.
Know thyself.
I mean, that's seriously, I make the worst decisions when I'm not awake. I don't look at the market until it's, 10 a.m. my time, right? So I'm a closer. I'm becoming more and more disciplined as a closer.
Coffee is for closers. What are we talking about? Your close.
Oh, we're just chatting it up with Pearl. Pearl, in your 4 years in trading, you've built your routine around maybe a little bit later in the morning, going through the whole thing. What are some of the big transitions you've had to make, from one type of trader to the other?
I think the biggest transition I had to make was adding more delta into a theta focus. So as you know, when you mentored me, I was all about theta for quite some time. And then I think I understood the importance of having delta when the market is really moving. So these days, right, I have 3 different factors that are crunching in my portfolio. I have theta, I have delta, and I have vega. So I just find it to be very defensible in a way that all these 3 factors are working. So the biggest transition is from a singular point of view to a multi-pillar point of view. So I essentially don't have much opinion from day-to-day basis, and I just have multiple factors naturally built in. So I'm not really in a hurry, or I don't need to feel like I am reacting to too much things.
And that system development has now been in the works for years, right? I mean, this is not for a brand new trader, like we like to say, off the turnip truck. They hear like adding delta to a theta system. It probably sounds incredibly complex. It's actually not as complex as it sounds if you just are newly introduced to the verbiage. But it took some time, Pearl, for you to get to the point where you understood these concepts, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. I would say the biggest evolvement also, just from a characteristic, is I went from a single strategy trader to a portfolio manager where I am really managing multiple strategies, right? So that's the biggest shift over the years. And I see that being kind of pretty comfortable for me. I like the multi-variant. I naturally go that way. I don't like to spend too much time on the computer screen. So even when I practice day trading, I would only do day trading at the last hour of the day. So around 11:30 or so would be a good setup, because mostly at closing, right, we see another big rally or a big sell. And that's where I feel very comfortable, because throughout the day there has been support and resistance that's building already. So I just need to calculate some of these things and leave it alone. And my screen time is only like an hour or 2, and that's it.
Do you feel confident when you log into your accounts and you're seeing a dynamic portfolio with a lot going on, that you know how to take action the way you're supposed to?
Yes, mostly. I mean, even in this environment, right, in February 25th, when I had to liquidate my account, the thing that I tell a lot of my group is that cash is also an active position, right? Don't think about cash as being boring. Cash is great. It's active. So
Mark, how many new traders need to hear that?
All of them.
All of them.
Ay. I mean, so many beginners, they just want to
say
rush
that
in.
again. Say that again. I mean, repeat it. It's so important. It needs to be repeated again.
Cash is an active position. Manage it like it's active. Like, you need to know when to take a small loss and liquidate everything when you don't understand something and wait it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, I mean, there's so many little things that beginners and intermediate traders and veterans, we all learn all the time. But learning how to move into cash, learning how to move into smaller position sizes in the face of the unknown, guys, doesn't mean you stop trading. You're always active. I love the question Mark asked earlier about what are you doing right now? What are you actively doing right now? Because we all have things we're doing, but it doesn't mean you have to be fully leveraged in trading every day, you know? And it doesn't mean you have to stop trading at all and turn your accounts off and not look at them for 2 months.
They need to be made, and there's still patience to be exercised.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Pearl, a couple of things I do want to talk to you about as well. Number one, you've been writing this Friday feature for a while, but you actually just started the first part of a 3-part series on thriving in bear markets. First of all, I think if you want to go read Pearl's blog, by the way, it's a free blog we put on Tackle Trading. Just go and find the blogs at Tackle Trading or find the Tackle Today blog at the top of the menu, and you'll find that Friday feature. Pearl, what is this little 3-part series all about?
It's really about, I focus my entire blog on trading psychology, right? So I think we have a lot of content on Tackle Trading that are strategy specific, but for any strategy to work properly, you have to have the right psychological mentality to even trade. So I love this 3-part series that I just started, where I get to talk about the bear markets. Because so far we've had the longest bull market in history, and we really haven't had a chance to talk about the bear market psychology, where we really have to be counterintuitive, you know, in a way that when the market is fearful, that you have to be excited, right? From a financial perspective, when the world is not in such a good shape, you have to realistically have that mentality to want to be able to have a longer term investment plan. So, and you have to constantly think about your psychological state of not becoming paranoid like the rest of the population, not becoming stressed out like the rest of the population, and manage your life, your psychological state, so that you're ready to continue to manage your trading business. And I think the bear market it's especially important because it tests your psychological state the most, right? Everybody feels fine when they're in a bullish market, but it's the real testing period of a bearish move that makes you psychologically more fearful, and you have to overcome that. So I love the series that I started doing to kind of help people and guide them in terms of benchmarking their own psychological state against the masses.
Ding, 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 ding. There's the market closing. I think it's a really important point, though, because, guys, there's going to be incredible opportunities. You have to be in a good peak mental, physical, and emotional place, or else you're not going to be able to take advantage of it. You know, if you let the news and the gloom of the day drag you down and wear you down to a way to where you're not looking at data properly, you might miss those opportunities. Now is the time to rely on our processes, you know, our daily routines and things like that. Because, Pearl, there will be opportunities in front of us. I mean, you've been trading now for 4 years. They happen all the time, even after your forced sell-off, right?
Oh, yes, definitely. And I'm really excited because I think this is once in a lifetime where we might see some really, really good companies coming out of this entire crisis being on a, you know, on a really, really great place, right? And I do see, you know, in a long-term perspective, I'm also bullish like Mark, because I do think, you know, U.S. economy will withstand this long-term, will come out of it, you know, bigger and better. We'll probably have lots of things we learned through this crisis and be able to manage things a lot better, and different sectors are going to thrive like they've never thrived before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm with you. Pearl, you're an incredible addition to our community. I'm proud of what you're doing over there and working with people and helping others, and now giving back in terms of blogging and sharing mindset. What is some advice you give to beginners? Let's end with this question here, and then we're gonna wrap up with playing a little game here in a bit with the crew. But what advice do you give brand new traders out there who are new and maybe intimidated by the markets? You have a lot of friends from the tech industry who've been interested in this, but they don't know how to start, right? So what do you tell beginners out there?
I would just, I see this a lot with beginners, is that they're jack of all trades and master of none. So when you start, just learn one thing. For example, you want to learn a bullish setup. Just learn one setup and trade that only, and learn one strategy at a time and be able to execute that regardless of market condition. Be able to read one proper setup, do one strategy correctly, manage the risk correctly in any condition. That's all you need to do. So I think a lot of beginners are I was guilty of that myself because I was over enthusiastic as a learner. I probably learned so much, but I wasn't able to execute them correctly. So now that I look back, right, I'm like, I could have just done one thing correctly on a continuous basis, and I would actually be better off in the long run. So I would just be like, hey, so you don't need to think about 10 things. You just need to think about how do you manage 10 different market conditions with one thing over a period of time. That would be my biggest advice.
Awesome.
So what I heard you say, Pearl, is the one thing you should do is learn how to build a long-term position on oil right now. That's what I heard.
Pick up one skill set, right? Amongst
one oil building skill set. I hear you. Okay, I'm on the same page with you.
It could be a lot of things: day trading, volatility trading, theta trading, portfolio managing, or oil building for sure. A lot of those things could apply there. Pearl, you're awesome. Thanks for joining us for the interview.